Hey y'all, hey. This is Beauty Spot and welcome to Chatting with Beauty Spot. And today we will be reviewing Married at First Sight, Season 14, Episode 8. Um, Please y'all don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe and share. So let's get started because this episode was a little interesting. And it starts off. Alyssa and Chris are single again, and boy, do we not care. I mean, we're happy for Chris, but Alyssa can kick rocks. Then it moves on to Noi and Steve. Um, Steve basically said he want no damn full-time job. He wants to do his own thing. He wants to develop himself more. But Noi was like, you got a wife now. She wants him to have a 9 to 5. Steve is like, I'm good on that. I really just want to be self-employed and not have to be clocking in and clocking out. But she says she wants to see action. She don't know if Steve has a plan. And if he has a plan, he should share that with his now wife. And him not working a regular 9 to 5 makes her nervous. It makes her nervous for the future because she worried about how them 3 kids gonna get taken care of since she is set on 3 kids or whatever. Then it goes on to Katina and Elijah. And Elijah is talking to his homeboy and telling him that he nervous about sleeping with Katina. He nervous about it, and his friend was like, this is the only woman I have ever seen you nervous about. And he said, well, have you seen any red flags? And he was like, the only red flag I saw was when she went to the grocery store, spent 2 hours there, and only came back with bread and water. And his friend was like, he was like, he didn't get that. How you spend 2 hours at the grocery store and come back with bread and water? And she was like, I'm not used to shopping for anybody other than myself. And I'm not used to this. I have to get used to this. And his homeboy was taken up for it. He said, that was me too when I was single. I was only shopping for myself. And if that's all I needed, that's all I was getting. I didn't know how to grocery shop. I had to learn. His friend was caping for Katina. Because Elijah was like, there's something wrong with that. And he was like, Ola, you overthinking things. And you need to just chill out with that. Now we move over to Mark. Mark is hanging out with his homeboy. And is letting him know that he is more reserved than Lindsey. And you know Mark, he has a big personality. But he is like, I'm more reserved than her. And he was like, she embarrasses me. It's in group settings. She just says a lot of things off the cuff that are inappropriate. And she's not aware of how she comes off. And he feels like he has to hold back. And his friend was like, Mark is not the kind of person that is used to having to hold back. And she is a lot. And like I was saying, because sometimes I go to Reddit or whatever, she is the type of female that's going to get Mark's ass kicked. Can you imagine them being in a bar or whatever? Because you know, she's really off the hook when she has a drinker 5 or whatever. So imagine her sipping on something and she's saying inappropriate things to the people next to her. Now, a real man is not going to sit up there and argue with the next man, woman. He going to check the man. And Mark ain't trying to get checked. He is not into having confrontation like that. But the way her mouth is, it's going to cause him to get his behind kicked. Now, he going to end up in a physical altercation because his wife don't know how to shut the hell up. Whew. I digress. We move on to Michael. Michael went to go see his sister, and this his sister that usually gives him all the good advice. Not saying the other sisters don't, but we see this sister more often than not. So he's telling his sister about the conflict him and Jasmina had on the honeymoon. And she was letting him know, like, Jasmina don't know you yet. Y'all been married for like 10, 12 days. Like, she don't know you enough to trust you. Of course, she's going to have a barrier up. She's trying to get to know you. So you have to give her time. You know, like, back up and give her time. So she was keeping it real with him. Now we move on to Chris. Chris has to start telling the people close to him that he is getting a divorce. And the first person he is going to call is his mother. So he calls his mother on the video chat, and he's telling his mom that he was getting a divorce. Of course, he told her everything, and he was saying that, you know, Alyssa was saying that she got robbed. She said it multiple times, and his mom was like, no, you got robbed. She wanted her 15 minutes of fame. You was the one that got robbed. See, his mother figured it out quickly. She was not to be led astray. Then we move on to Katina. Katina's friend comes over and they sit down to chat. And she asked her, of course, how her wedding was going. How was Elijah wine? As her friend was saying that when he met with her group of friends the day after the wedding, she was not feeling him. She was like, homeboy talk a whole lot. He was talking so much. I think he was preventing us from asking him questions. And that wasn't cool. And then she said, well, this is what he told us. And I don't know if he told you, if y'all had this discussion, but he mentioned to us that he's never been with a black woman before. Was a shock to me because I had no clue. And Katina is the first black woman he's been with. Now, of course, Katina is defending him because if it ain't nothing she's not going to do is not defend her husband. That girl is going to defend her husband till the wheels fall off. And she was like, we talked about that, and I'm cool with it. I mean, you know he half Irish. And her friend was like, but he's black. If I look at him, he looks black. She said, you see it, I see it. And her friend was like, but does he see it? And Katina was like, look, we talked about it. We cool. I'm not the first black woman he's been with, but I'm the first black woman he's been with exclusively and in a serious relationship. And Katina was like, basically, this is not a concern for you. And Ariana, when she got ready to leave, and Ariana was like, I'm going to be watching his ass. You know, because she has not seen how him and Katina interact. And him and Katina interact well. But she was still basing all her information on that first meeting she had with him that was not going well. Now we go to Alyssa. She meets with her friend and gives her the side of the story that suits her and why her and Chris are getting divorced. And of course, she is saying that she tried her hardest and this is not what she wanted. And yada, 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 yada. You know the same thing. She's telling her version, not telling her friend the truth. Whatever. And her friend, see, her people must know her because her friend was not really buying it and said that she would have loved to talk to him alone because she believes Alyssa judges too hard. And she would have loved to have met with Chris alone before she makes her judgment. But she was just letting Alyssa talk and spew out her little lies about the situation or whatever. But the girl said, Alyssa was like, I'm about to move to Texas to go find my cowboy. Of course, after I talk to my psychic. But what she needs to be talking to is a psychiatrist, not a psychic. And I hope you have fun in Texas. And I don't know what she thinks is going to happen. Like she's going to go to Texas and magically get her a cowboy that's going to act right, because she better hope she find a cowboy that does not watch TV. That's all she need to do. But yeah. And then we go to Jasmina. Jasmina goes and meets with her friend that has been either in a relationship for 8 years or engaged for 8 years. But this is a long-term engagement or whatever. But she goes to meet with her friend, and her friend is asking her how the marriage is going. And Jasmina, of course, says, you know, when they met at the wedding, it was great, yada, yada, yada. When they went to the honeymoon, that's when it took a turn, because he was talking to her with a tone. And her friend's like, oh, yes, because you don't like tones. She said, no, I don't like tones. Just talk to me regular. And she said that her friend was telling her that her and Michael need to communicate on a regular basis about everything. And Jasmina was like saying that Michael always thinks he's right and that what he's saying is always right. And her friend was like, you're the same way. And she was like, no, I'm not. And her friend was like, yes, you are. You guys are one and the same. So that's what it is. So then we move on to the housewarmers. Everybody, all the couples get, have their friends or family or whoever come over. And it looks like they didn't have a lot of people this time. It looks like 4 people came to each of their housewarmings or whatever. The first one is Mark and Lindsey. Of course, Mark is nervous. He's nervous about how this is going to go, how Lindsey is going to be with his friends or whatever. And they get together, they talk or whatever. Mark goes and is talking to Lindsey's friends and is asking her friends advice on how to reel Lindsey in, especially when they get into group settings and she says stuff inappropriate. And they said, you need to just let her know right then and there how it makes you feel. Keep in mind, because this will come back later. Then we go to Noi and Steve's housewarming. Their friends are over. It wasn't really a big deal at Noi and Steve's. Her friends were laughing about her being set on a hard 3 kids, and Noi tells his friends, she's really concerned about his work situation and him just wanting to do his own thing, and that she's all yada, 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 same old. Then we go to Michael and Jasmina's. And it looks like they got over their little hump just in time, before the housewarming. They're back joking and talking to each other, not beefing, which is cool. And they're asking their friends, they want to figure out how to get through conflict. Not Katina, but Jasmina goes and talks to Michael's sister and was saying, she needs to know how to get through conflict with him. And Michael's sister is basically, she said, I am very glad that Michael got a strong woman, because he don't need somebody he can walk over. He needs somebody that's going to stop him in his tracks and put him in his place. Now we go to Katina and Elijah. And her best friend and her other friend come over, and of course they in the hallway. saying that, they ain't like him at all after the wedding. When they all get in there and they're sitting there talking, Katina's talking to her friends and they're asking her if they did, if they did do whatever. And she was like, we have not done the do yet. And they like, what? Why? And she said they're waiting until there's a more emotional connection. And her friends, they wasn't feeling that because they know Katina like to get down. And they was like, And of course, her friends talked to him. And, he's expressing himself to them and telling him how he feels about Katina. And they were letting him know that he should be patient with Katina. But when they left, they said that they are liking him better after the whole housewarming. They like him better now than they did after the wedding. Then we go to Noodlegate. So we go back to Noi and Steve's house. Noi told Steve that she wants to cook him dinner for the first time. So, of course, he was pleasantly surprised. She has the gluten-free noodles. He has some regular noodles. So, he had went in the room or whatever. He walked out. Her noodles was cooked. His wasn't cooked. And, so he decided to go ahead and put his noodles on. And he walks away. And I guess she ain't checked the noodle or nothing. So when he comes back and looked at his noodles, he was like, oh, these are overcooked. That pissed her off. She grabs her dog's sushi, grabs her backpack or whatever, and bounces. Would not answer his text messages or phone calls and did not come back. She didn't come back for like 24 hours. And, yeah, so she didn't contact him and would not let him contact her. He's like, she spent the night somewhere else. Later on that day, she came back. Turns out she ended up going to her own apartment. And instead of talking to her husband, she posts something on social media, which was a hard no. One of them subliminals, but that's not really subliminal because her husband found it and picked up on it. And he was sitting there, he was like, we need to go ahead and talk about this situation. And she was like, I didn't want to talk, which is I needed my space. And he's like, that's not healthy communication. She was like, you want me to communicate the way you want to communicate? No, he wants to communicate the way grown people communicate. He was like, instead of talking to me, you went home and was in your feelings and posted something negative on your socials. He was like, do you know my family follows you now? Because we are married, my family is following you. And you putting stuff up on social media when we could have just talked about it, like you pissed off about noodles. It wasn't the noodles. That's like going off on your man because he done left his socks in the living room. But what you mad about is the homeboy been out of work for 6 months and you tired of pulling away. She pissed off because of his work situation. And Steve is not hurting for money. He is not taking money out that household. And she had asked him before, like, do you have a savings? He's like, yeah, I got savings. And if I need more money, I could get a contract job or whatever, And if it's, if it comes to it, I can go ahead and get another job. It's not hard for me. But that's what she was really tripping off of. She done blamed it on them damn noodles. And him telling her that she done overcooked the noodles. And she was like, I was just upset because it was my first time cooking for you. And you had something negative to say about it. Like the noodles was overcooked. And that wasn't the first time you had something negative to say. And I just got upset. Which is what you should have did instead of just packing up your dog and your stuff and bouncing. Okay, so now after all of that, oh, and in between time, it had cut to Elijah and Katina, and Elijah coming outside to meet Katina at the car. Was like, I got something for you. You know, he had a little hoodie on or whatever, and he was like, I know you told me that you love Michael Ealy. I think he said Michael Ealy. It was Michael Ealy or Michael B. Jordan or whatever, and he took his hat off. Oh, Lord have mercy. Elijah done cut that damn frohawk off his head because he was too damn grown for that frohawk. He got, he got low cut fade. I ain't mad at it. I was happy. She was happy. She was congratulating and giving him a hug because I know she was relieved that this man no longer had that 3-year-old haircut. Now, we can go to the bowling alley. So all the couples are meeting up, and this is the first time all of the couples have gotten together since the honeymoon. And they get there and they're talking, and Lindsey is saying, I have to tell you guys something. Mark had a taco for the first time in his life the other day. And everybody was like, what? You ain't never had no taco? Like a taco? Brother. And all the they were laughing, and they was like, at least she's introducing you to new things. I thought that was funny because I'm like, you ain't never had a taco before? Because I will throw those down. But yes. And of course, in the midst of this, just everybody doing this banter, of course Alyssa says something inappropriate in front of the group. That woman just does not know how to act in a group setting. Chris and Alyssa show up. Everybody was like, oh, there they go, yada yada. We were wondering how you guys have been. And of course, I think somebody, I think it was Mark, had asked how they were saying, how they were doing since Pastor Cal came to visit. And of course, everybody is saying, how they were acting, and Elijah was saying how he has to, communicate appropriately to Katina. And, Michael was saying his speech, and everybody was going around saying whatever. And what was funny was, I think it was Jasmina and Michael that had said something. And Katina was saying, the only issue that I thought I was gonna have was him not putting the toilet seat down. They start talking about this toilet seat, but he puts the toilet seat down, and people was like, they were like, yeah, this and this and that and that. And they were all talking about toilet seats, and then Steve started saying something, and Lindsey is cutting him off. And everybody is telling her, Lindsey, let him finish what he has to say before you start talking. They had to tell her more than once before she shut up and let Steve get out his speech about why people need the toilet seat down. It was a mess. So then Lindsey, it came kind of out of left field. But Lindsey was saying how couples should have conflict before intimacy because it makes them close or whatever. And Katina was like rolling her eyes because she's over Lindsey. And I remember earlier in the evening, Katina was speaking about something, and Lindsey was over there talking to Mark, so she wasn't paying attention. So now she says this stuff about conflict and intimacy, and Katina rolls her eyes. And she didn't turn around and roll them at Lindsey, but she did roll her eyes. And Lindsey was like, why are you rolling your eyes? And Katina was like, I am not trying to argue with you on camera again, so you need to stay over there. Like, you know we ain't cool, so stay over there. Now, y'all know Mark didn't like that. And when they all got up, Mark and Lindsey went this way, and Mark was telling her, like, I don't like the way that came off. You know y'all not cool like that, so why would you agitate her? You know it's gonna cause a conflict. And Lindsey was like, who are you here for, me or Katina? And he's like, look, if we are gonna be a team, you need to act like it. And ow. So I wasn't acting like it when I wore a hazmat suit to go into your place. And you can go stay with your mama tonight. And he walks away and says, have another drink. That's how it got started. Then she gets pissed, goes in the bathroom, and starts going off. Now, one of the producers follow her in there. I mean, she is going off about Mark. But Mark was telling her the way her friends told him. He said he was letting her know that it makes him uncomfortable when she agitates Katina or anybody else when they together, because I told y'all she gonna cause him to get his ass kicked. Now, Elijah Wan did was like, you know, they were both trying to calm their women down, because Elijah Wan was like, Katina, you know, no. And he was trying to say something to Lindsey, but she gets pissed and starts going off about his home and yada yada yada. He goes off and he goes to sit in the stairwell because he overwhelmed. He don't know what to damn do about this lady that he done married. So that gives Chris a chance to come out there and talk to him. And he was like, I don't know about this. I can't fall in love with somebody that acts like this. And then she's talking mad trash about him to the producers. And she is doing it loud. Talking about she had to put on a hazmat suit to go to his roach-infested apartment and get his stuff. And that he only makes $65,000 a year. And this and this and that and that. And he can't even make me come. And anybody, you know, he shouldn't be talking trash if he can't even give his wife an orgasm and he got small balls. I mean, she was talking about the man balls. She was saying she ain't bust one off since they been together. And she talking hella loud. And I know hella people heard her. In fact, Chris and Mark sitting in the stairwell and they can hear her. And Chris was like, is that her? And Mark was like, mm-hmm. I don't know if they heard everything that she was saying, but they heard her. And she in there talking mad loud. First of all, you can't go and do stuff for your husband and help your husband out and know your husband's secrets and know all this stuff about your husband. And the first time you get mad at your husband, you go sit up there like, I helped you. And she talking about he had roaches. We just knew he had bed bugs. So she's talking about, I helped you get out your roach infested apartment. And you ain't made me come, and you got small balls. Like, why would you do your husband like that and think that you ain't about to get a divorce? I don't know what her deal is, but you do not come at your man like that. He did take her somewhat to the side to check it. He didn't do it in front of the whole group, but she was yelling all of this madness. in the empty bathroom, the two producers, now you see the second producer done walked in there. I guess she wanted to up close and personal about what Lindsey was saying. But ain't no way, child. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. Man, it couldn't be me. It couldn't be. I couldn't be the person that get into it with her. I promise you, it would have been a lip check. Loop loop. But anyway, that was the end of this episode. Again, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next episode, peace.